How's it going? I'm Ryan. Today I'm going to go over the one trade that I took on NQ. I took a long as NQ broke above and held the pre-market high, and I longed that up into the previous day high zone. Worked out really well. It was a super quick trade for me. I was done in about 20 minutes this morning. Um, let's take a look at why I took the trade I did, what else I was watching coming into the day, and then I'll go into the specifics of risk and reward, how I choose those, and yeah, just kind of how I went about this trade. Let's take a look. So we'll start at a higher level. We'll go to the 15-minute. Coming into the day, ES and NQ, and I believe RTY as well. Yes. No. NQ and ES were both within the previous day range. That is, they were between the previous day high and the previous day low, the previous day being last Friday. Then we have the pre-market range, and that's designated by these yellow levels, and then this red box and this green outline box are the previous day highs and lows. So we're within the range, and we have a pre-market range on both ES and NQ, right? Similar setup. And then on RTY, we had relative weakness to where we were opening below the previous day range. We have the previous day, that being last Friday. Last Friday's low, last Friday's high, and then we have the pre-market range. And we are opening quite well below the previous day low. So we had some relative weakness here. So as we come into the morning, two things start to happen. And I'll pull up the 5-minute chart and kind of show those. Those two things are NQ looking relatively strong. NQ is pumping above, breaking above that pre-market high. RTY is looking relatively weak, right? RTY is dumping below that pre-market low. Something else that I had to consider on RTY was that we had this little support zone here. So I wanted to see a clean break below both these levels and then maybe look for some sort of short, as I thought that, you know, we could get continuation down to this next zone. So I was watching NQ and RTY, one relative strength, one relative weakness, and just whichever gave me a better opportunity was the one I was going to take. So RTY was pretty volatile, and I'm going to show you this now because I didn't take the trade, so I can go over it a little quicker. But we just kind of dumped down, and we didn't get a return to anything, except we did get it here, but it blew right through, so that wouldn't have been a good short opportunity, even though it may look like it. I probably wouldn't, I don't know if I would have taken that. Regardless, RTY just dropped straight down. Didn't give much of a great entry. NQ, on the other hand, and I guess I'll show what ES was doing. ES was moving to the upside. It was just not as strong as NQ. So while NQ on that first 5-minute candle broke above the pre-market high, ES did not. ES tested it and then pulled back, failing to break above that pre-market range. It eventually did break out and get a nice move to the upside, but it didn't give me like the entry cue that I would look for that NQ did, where it showed like strength right out of the gate. Let's take a look at NQ. NQ is a beautiful example of the setup that I want to watch. We break higher. We go almost up the previous day high zone. I would expect this to act as a bit of resistance. At this point, I'm watching for pullback to that EMA pre-market high area for an entry. And I like it for an entry because it allows me to have a pretty tight risk to reward, right? I know that this is a likely area for price to pull back into. And if I enter in this area, I can have a predefined, 10 to 15 point stop loss based on if we fail to hold those levels, then my theory is invalid, right? My idea of price retesting this level for continuation is no longer true, and something has happened to make that untrue. So it gives me a nice entry, a place to enter, and it gives me a nice risk, as I'm not going to hold on. If this just dumps through both those levels and continues to drop, I'm not going to hold on, right? There's no reason. Maybe it holds it somewhere down here at the 200 or something, or some level of support on the chart. But that's not for me to find out, right? My idea is to get in and either be right or be wrong quick, right? If I'm wrong, I want to be wrong quick and minimize that loss. Anyways, rambling. At this point, I'm watching for a pullback to that EMA pre-market high area. I enter right at that EMA pretty much. We hold both on a hammer. This had me a little nervous because we started dropping lower. My stop was 4 points below, so my stop was somewhere down in here, like 818. And I was concerned that we were going to just pull back into this range and stop me out. Though we didn't. We held tight. We closed right at that EMA with a hammer, and at this point I felt pretty good. From there, we just kind of made a nice move up. My first take profit was the top of these candle bodies right here at 855. The reason being is I like to always pick a target and then adjust it just a little bit. So normally maybe I'd look for previous high or daily high. So, you know, that's at what, 87, 57? So I just go a couple points below and just secure that. Also, I like basing levels off of candle bodies more than wicks. I think candle bodies are a little bit more relevant. And you see how we got right up to that level and then wicked off and then popped back up. So I got my first fill there. My second fill was at 870, and I had one remaining contract at this point. When my first take profit hits, I move my stop loss to break even, and I just start trailing that EMA. So I just kind of start trailing that trend. And then I placed another take profit at 870, and the reason why I placed the take profit at 870 was because I was looking at previous price action. And remember what I said about I like to place more importance on candle bodies as opposed to candle wicks. I was looking at where those candle bodies are, right? We have 1, 2, we're kind of wicking off this area. Another candle body closed right there, tried to push higher but couldn't close right there. So if we carry that across, that's right at like 870. So that's the level that I targeted. Now we did push higher, and I left, you know, maybe another 20 points on the table. However long we go with this trend, we didn't break the trend at all, so there's no real reason for me to exit. So maybe that's something that I look at as an area of improvement. I could have squeezed out, as of now, another $40 out of this trade. Not like a game breaker, but it certainly wouldn't hurt. So maybe I continue to allow my runner to run, you know, a bit more than I have, especially if that trend hasn't broken and I have no reason to get out. So things to learn. But this trade worked about as well as I could have wished. I had pretty minimal drawdown, and then we got the move, we hit our take profit, and we hit our runner. So we're happy with that. We're happy with how the day worked. ES was just a little bit slower. It's still moving nicely to the upside. It just kind of happened a little later, and we didn't quite get the retest with we got the pre-market retest kind of here, but we didn't have as strong of a breakout. I guess we did have this like flag, and then that candle was the breakout, and then we retest the pre-market high. Not bad, and it's moved really nicely off that level. It's moved 10 points. So that's a really nice move off it. Yes, I'm not trying to put that down, but NQ did it first and was just slightly stronger, so that's the one that I went with, and it played out really well. Yeah, and then RTY is just insane. Actually, this pullback here is probably a nice entry long. Yeah, RTY is crazy. I gotta watch this a bit more. I've taken a few trades on it. Last Friday, I actually traded RTY for a nice win. It was my first win on RTY, and it moves really nice. There's definitely potential there. I think I'll just have to continue to watch it and learn it because it seems to be tricky. Just as like NQ seemed really tricky when I first started trading it because of its volatility. Now I kind of understand the ranges in which NQ moves, and I feel like I have kind of dialed in what I should risk, what I should look for. I'm not there yet on RTY. I don't fully understand RTY. Oh man, but it presents some crazy opportunities, that's for sure. If you catch a move like that, you're up $1,000 on a single contract. So, but that one would require some pretty good risk reward or risk management as well. All right, that's all I got. Thank you for watching. I do stream live. I'm gonna be out Tuesday, Wednesday. Is that correct? I believe I open. I don't open today, obviously, but I believe I open at work the next 2 days. Let me confirm that. Tuesday, Wednesday, I'm going to be out because I'll be working. So it's really good that I was able to get this good start to the week, especially because the next 2 days I'm going to be out. But we'll look to continue on Thursday, Friday. Hopefully we get some decent moves, and yeah, we can finish this week strong. Last week was just break even. I had a really good week 1 on these accounts. Week 2 was just break even. week 3 is off to a much better start. So see if we can carry that through. Take care of yourself. Have a good day. Thank you for watching. Peace.